Okay, thanks for that music, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I am Christina with Metro Community Relations. Thank you all for joining us here today for Metro Conversations, Investing in People for a Sustainable Future. This is part of our series of events for Earth Month. So thank you all for joining us here today. Before we get started and introduce you to our speakers and panelists today, we just want to review a few housekeeping items. So on our next slide, you will see we will be taking questions as we usually do at Metro Conversations after the panel discussion. So you will have a chance to enter a question in the Q&A feature you see on your Zoom controls. And you could also raise your hand to ask a question verbally if you like, or if you're dialing in, you can press *9 to do that as well. We do have live interpretation for this meeting today with Diana, our Spanish interpreter. So you can access that by clicking the globe icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen and selecting the Spanish channel. If we at any point get any questions from a Spanish speaker and you don't understand Spanish, you can choose the English channel to understand what they are saying there. And on our next slide, I wanted to review a few guidelines for us today. So I think if anyone has joined us before, you're familiar with this, but it doesn't hurt to remind everyone that we do ask you to keep a conversational tone and respect everyone on the panel today. If you are asking questions, if you want to ask a question, please direct it to our panelists and not to other attendees here today. We want to create a comfortable space and equitable space where everybody can ask their questions and have this conversation with us today. We're really excited for it, and thank you again for joining us. And with that, I do want to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Cris B. Liban. He is Metro's Chief Sustainability Officer. I think he might still have some technical difficulties, unfortunately, joining us. So in his stead, perhaps I might introduce Andrina Dominguez, who will come on camera with us now. She is also with Metro's Department of Environmental Sustainability and Compliance. So, Andrina?
Looks like we actually have Cris, who just joined us.
Oh, beautiful. Perfect timing. Okay, well, please come on camera. Beautiful timing. Impeccable.
Thank you so much, Christina. And Andrina, I didn't want to steal your thunder there. I mean, if you want to say something for probably a couple of a minute or so, just feel free to do so, since Christina introduced you to this.
Feel free to take it away, Cris.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. For being here today. Social sustainability is certainly a big topic here in the agency. Not only is this topic recently been part of our conversation. It's been part of our DNA, from the very beginning, on the beginning of this program back in 2008. The topic of social sustainability has been in the conversations of the American Public Transportation Association, for almost the last decade, beginning with the chair of the Social Economic Sustainability working group in APTA, Barry Barker, who has since retired, about 4 years ago. And as a result of that visionary and seminal work that Barry and the people in the committee had done, LA Metro had actually adopted, a significant number of those initiatives, from there on. And part and parcel of the activities that we have here, the program of activities here in the last decade is reflective, of what Barry and the APTA committee had done. In that context as well, I just wanted to make you aware that this is not just an initiative. We actually have a way, to measure social sustainability, and that was also some work that was done by some of the transportation industry experts, practitioners, if you may. Andrea Dominguez and I had been part of that conversation. The framing of social sustainability was done back in 2016 to 2017. In 2019, was part of an oversight committee, that actually came up with metrics on how to measure social sustainability. Here in LA Metro, she will sense some snippets of it in this conversation this afternoon. Our department, the Environmental Compliance and Sustainability Department, is responsible for not only reducing the environmental liabilities, increasing the financial resources that we enjoy here in the organization, but at the same time, work with our equity professionals, with our equity officer, with our customer service departments, along with communications and some other departments here in the agency, operations and planning and construction, to make and security and safety, to make sure, that all the opportunities that we have here, reflect, these principles that I'm talking about. Some examples of this include that's outlined in our Moving Beyond Sustainability 10-year strategic plan, our sustainable acquisition program, which was adopted by the board back in 2019, applies a more structured and comprehensive approach to considering the direct social and environmental impacts of products and services. And some of you in this webinar, in this conversation today, are probably in that space. Resilience and climate adaptation in design, for example, is part of the physical asset vulnerability and social vulnerability assessments that we do here in the agency, specifically on the high heat days. On transit-oriented communities, work that we're doing with our joint development real estate departments. That program works to create more livable neighborhoods in transit and other mobility investments. And finally, the topic of today's webinar, focusing on economic and workforce development. We're targeting here on eliminating barriers on career advancement, recruiting employees from diverse sources, and improving access to opportunities for small, disadvantaged, and veteran-owned businesses. The last note I just wanted to mention in here, that here in our group, we always try to look for those kinds of opportunities, and there never has been a shortage of examples. And hopefully, with the snippet of conversation that you see here today, with the experiences that you will hear, not only internally, but at the same time for our community members and the education professional that we'll be hearing from here today. You not only sense that we're really serious about this, that this is part of our DNA, that with you and your partnership, we'll do everything and anything we can to not only improve on, but add on to these opportunities in the future. So I welcome you here today. Thank you so much again for being here. And I'm also here as a listener to the program, and I hope you enjoyed today's program. We hope to see you in our next event, and God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris, for that wonderful introduction, setting the context for our conversation today. There's so much involved in social sustainability, as you mentioned. And so today we're going to be focusing on our next generation workforce program. So with that, I'm excited to pass this over to our moderator, Julia Brown, who will introduce our fantastic panelists today.
So thank you, Christina. Hello, everyone. My name is Julia Brown. I am the Metro Community Relations Manager who will be guiding you through today's discussion. So welcome and thank you for joining us. First, I'd like to introduce our panelists, but I want to make sure that you're aware of how wonderful our panelists are and the fact that they were selected today based on their personal and professional experience as it relates to today's topic, which we're going to focus on people, diversity, inclusion, and social sustainability. So first off, I'd like to introduce Maria G. Meleandez. She is our Deputy Executive Officer with Metro Human Resources. So welcome, Maria. And next up, I would like to introduce Ms. Tiyesha Watts. She is the budget analyst for the California Community Colleges Chancellor's Office. She is also a Metro TCAP graduate. So welcome, Tiyesha. Next up, we have Paul Yoon. He is with the California Army National Guard. He is also a Metro Administrative Analyst. So welcome to you, Paul. And then last, but certainly not least, we have Ms. Rubalcava, also known as Ms. Ruby. And Ms. Ruby is the principal of Metropolitan High School. So welcome to you, Ms. Ruby. And thanks again for all of our panelists for joining us today. So let's go ahead and dive into today's conversation. So first off, I would like to start with Maria. So you oversee what we call our next generation workforce programs. Can you start us off with an overview of what those programs are?
Absolutely. So within Metro's, if you can hit the next slide, thank you. Within Metro's Human Capital and Development Department, the Next Generation Workforce Programs team really works hard to advance synergy amongst our internal departments and stakeholders, while also strengthening our community-based partnerships throughout Los Angeles County so that we collectively build the future workforce of the industry. Today's topic is social sustainability and honoring the human element of sustainability. With all that we have collectively experienced in this last year alone, it's imperative now more than ever that we remain connected and intentional with how we serve. That being said, my team, our team, Next Generation Workforce Programs represents 5 key areas that impact youth, veterans, educators, and historically underserved communities throughout Los Angeles County. Starting with our Transportation Gateway programs. And these are internship programs starting with our TCAP, which stands for Transportation Career Academy Program, which serves our high school students, our MIP, our Metro Internship Program. And that internship program serves our students that are still in college, either undergrad or graduate, and our entry-level trainee program, ELTP. And that is specifically for students that have graduated, again, undergrad or graduate. Next, our E3 Youth Initiative, which stands for Expose, Educate, and Employ the Next Generation. And this includes, of course, our partnerships with high schools, LAUSD, LACO, but of course, our Seed LA Transportation School. Our Metro Veterans Program, our Fair Chance Recruitment Program, and last but definitely not least, our Metro Training and Innovation Center. Collectively, Next Generation Workforce Programs represents the first half of Metro's Career Pathways framework. Next slide, please. And this framework really was put together to establish and focus on our most valuable asset, our people, with the objective of helping bring education, training, and resources to help prepare them for opportunities within transportation and Metro. It's a progressive framework, starting, as you see, with the transportation introduction. And as our current CEO talks about, a cradle to grave approach. And at this transportation introduction, you have, of course, the Seed School and our E3 Youth Initiative, which today you're going to hear from Ms. Ruby, who partners with us through that E3 Youth Initiative. Next is our workforce initiatives, which our veterans program is represented under. And you're going to hear today from Paul, who earlier you heard is part of the California Army National Guard and helps lead our veterans programs. Next, you'll hear from Tiyesha Watts, who is a graduate from TCAP, our Transportation Career Academy program. And through our Gateway programs, we are providing internship opportunities for youth that are in high school, in college, and once they finish their college education. And as you see here, the framework really starts, like I said, in the introduction, but goes through the executive leadership development rank. And it's a progressive approach in providing this, like I mentioned, education, resources, and training every step of the way to fortify really professional development within your career here at Metro. Thank you.
Wow, that's a lot. That's wonderful work that you and your team are doing. Can you tell us a bit more about how these programs started and why?
Absolutely. Over the next 5 years, approximately 49% of Metro's employees will be eligible for retirement. Within the industry, that number looms at close to 60%. So, with such an urgent need to build a skilled labor pool for transportation infrastructure and here at Metro, the agency has really been intentional about how we engage the next generation of our workforce. And hence our service area was born. And so what we're trying to achieve here with these programs is really building our bench for the future. And the truth of the matter is careers in transportation infrastructure represent good paying jobs that help build and strengthen the communities here in Los Angeles County and beyond. And so when we talk about next generation and the emerging workforce, this really does include women, veterans, members that have been impacted by the justice system, youth, and even those individuals that are seeking a second career. You know, Metro has truly remained inclusive in how we engage with the communities we serve to really help build the workforce of tomorrow.
Okay, and based off of that, what is Metro really trying to achieve with these programs?
Yeah, and as I mentioned, I think we're really trying to build our bench, right? And really fortify that need that we know is coming sooner rather than later. You know, in the industry, we refer to this as the silver tsunami. And so by intentionally building that workforce and engaging with an inclusive approach, engaging with different communities within LA, we're doing just that.
Well, thank you. And that silver tsunami is definitely coming at us. So I'm happy to hear that we have a team of people working on that. I'd like to now move over to Tiyesha. So welcome again, Tiyesha. Now you participated in Metro's TCAP program. What was your experience like with that? And how did that lead you to where you are today?
Yes, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me today. And I would say that my experience in the TCAP program was one of the most invaluable experience that I could have had. It has definitely played a big part in where I am today. When I first participated in the TCAP program, I was a high school intern and I got to intern in the active transportation and sustainability department. That was my first time entering into a professional realm where I was able to receive training on Excel because I grew up and didn't have, computer or internet in my house. So being able to have workshops on Excel and Microsoft Word training allowed me to be able to utilize that when I got to college, as well as the different workshops that were offered, such as resume building, networking, and the facilitations on different Metro policies and procedures allowed me to develop myself in a professional way where I was able to apply to different jobs and different leadership roles. And then from that, I was able to come back as a TCAP supervisor, and that gave me supervisory experience to where that is actually on my resume, and it helped me to get one of the jobs that I applied for. So it has been a huge help and just allowing me to be able to get jobs, apply for leadership experience, being able to have a leg up on some of my other colleagues at a young age for when I was, applying to different positions, applying to different jobs. I already knew how to carry myself in such a way as to what a professional attire was, how to speak, if I was networking with someone, how to follow up with them via email. So I would say the TCAP program has been a huge part in shaping the person that I am today.
Wow, well, thank you. It definitely sounds like you learned a lot of skills and that you gained a lot of valuable experience. So we're definitely happy to hear that.
Yeah.
And so now I'm going to point my next question over to Paul. So welcome again to you, Paul. Now you are a veteran of the Army, so I want to thank you for your service and thank you for being a part of the Metro family. Now, as a veteran, how has your experience prepared you for your career here at Metro and beyond?
Well, thank you for having me. Well, military is not just a hobby, it's committing to something bigger. Even from day one in my military career, many years ago, like we were always taught mission first. Even from day one, giving up or walking away, calling it quits is never an option. Even when things get hard, tough, you just want to just end the day. Every task, every mission, you are giving it your all, and just make sure you complete it. Well, my military experience has prepared me to keep moving forward with hard work and furthering education. It has also prepared me to be a leader, work as a team, collaborating with each other, being resilient, perseverance, having self-discipline, and one of the main things is always respecting one another. And in my experience, as I have worked and met so many individuals from boot camp in Oklahoma to my first duty station in New York, working with people overseas, and then to finally come back home here in LA and being part of the California Army National Guard.
Well, thank you, Paul. And again, we're happy to have you here as a member of the Metro team. And so now we are going to move over to Ms. Ruby. So Ms. Ruby, you are one of, excuse me, Metro's partners in our E3 initiative. How long have you been involved in that program, and what made you want to participate?
First off, thank you. Thank you to everybody for being here. And this is our second year starting with the E3 program. And I'd like to thank Ms. Maria Meleandez for providing us with that opportunity to participate. I am the principal, the very proud principal of a continuation high school. And so early on in being here at the school, I realized that our students were here because they were lacking school credits. That's generally speaking, but they were lacking school credits for a reason. And so my job was to really find out why and what is it that we could do to mitigate that. And so in really searching for that, I realized that it wasn't that they were not learning or that they didn't know what they needed to do. It had nothing to do with that. It had all to do with motivation and finding that key to just turning on that switch and motivate them and finding what works for them. And so I received an email, and I think it was just sent. It got sent, and Maria and I connected. And I said, this is what my plan is. I want my students to persevere. I want them to be engaged, and I want to turn on that switch. And I believe that if we are here in the heart of downtown, they can make a difference. They can make a difference in their community, and that's going to turn on the switch. And so that's the way everything, it evolved. It started. And so I am very proud to say that we did participate in some visits that projects that Maria invited us to. It was a journey to try to get transportation set up and things with the district, but hey, we made it there. Our students, I learned so much from Metro, and I learned about the abundance of opportunities that they have to offer that most of us don't know about. Many of us don't know about until we're there. And so I was just in awe and excited to provide that. I said, my students could do that. And so every time I would see a project or a speaker, the first thing that would come to my mind are the particular students that would put faces to the different students. If they wanted to do a hard hat job, if they wanted to be an engineer, a designer, if they liked art, whatever it was, I could see a face here. And so our first rollout of many more to come is what we call our linked learning project. And so we have to come up with a guiding question, right? And we decided that we're going to be a transportation school. That's going to be our pathway, transportation. And so the students came up with the question of how can we influence city officials to invest in transportation improvements that will help mitigate climate change? And so their job was to come up with solutions, but it incorporates math, English, social studies, every subject working together. And so, real life problems. And I want to say that with the pandemic, it didn't roll out the way we wanted to, but we started the process. And that in itself is one of the key and most valuable assets that this has done. So I want to say that I am really anxious and eager to plan this summer for the next things coming up. Tiyesha, I want to congratulate you because you are the prime example of where I want my kids to be and where I know that they could be. The fact that they are in a continuation school, as a matter of fact, no, cross that out. I don't call it a continuation school. I call my school an option school because this is a different option. They're not continuing anything. This is a different option. And so, Tiyesha, thank you so much for providing your story to us. And I'm definitely going to share it with my kiddos. Thank you.
Wow, well, you definitely turned on that motivation switch, I think, for all of the attendees here. So thank you for that, Ms. Ruby. And for Maria specifically, I have a quick question. How does Metro engage disadvantaged communities to make them aware of these opportunities the way that Ms. Ruby is aware and that she's working hard with her students?
Yeah. And, I'm in awe with the panel today. And thank you so much for sharing your time and everyone that's attending today. As the proverb goes, it takes a village. And our partnerships, both internal to the agency and externally with our faith leader community, our community-based organizations and other public agencies in Los Angeles, we ensure we're very intentional. And I've said this a couple of times earlier today, but we need to involve the entire ecosystem of partners so that collectively we work together with those that work with our intended populations, but also provide resources so that we're providing really action-oriented, positive, results-driven programming for the communities that we serve.
Thank you. And I want to jump back to Tiyesha. Again, we'll start with you because I think it will be interesting for the audience to learn how you got involved with these programs. And then we'll go from you to Paul.
Of course, yes. I got involved by actually a guidance counselor at my school had applications for the TCAP program. And I went, and it was actually the day of the application was due. And I scrambled to get my materials together. I actually had to, go to my counselor to try and get my transcripts and to get like a copy of my birth certificate. And she sent it off for me. And then from there, I got called back for an interview and I was able to be offered the position. So I would, have to give thanks to the guidance counselor at my high school for making me aware of the program.
Oh, that's great. And Paul, what about you?
So before Metro, I was working at the LA County Department of Health Services doing medical records. I heard about the agency's 6% hiring goals for veterans and just other things on how Metro has incorporated the MOS, the Military Skills Translator, even just little tools like that to search for related jobs according to your military occupation. And to the veterans program, how it takes care of the military veterans in Metro, and not just the employees, but also their family. I was very interested and I wanted to be part of that team. As I currently serve in the military and being in a position of a senior leadership, assisting a fellow service member and their family is always a reward. So I wanted to be part of that.
Wow. Well, again, we're glad that you chose to become part of our family. These are great stories and great information that you all are sharing. And so now I would like to touch upon how social sustainability is closely linked with equity, and that it's one of the 3 pillars of sustainability for us here at Metro. But I'd like to go to each of you and find out, what does sustainability mean to you? What does it mean in your life, your community, and the work that you do here at Metro? And I'd like to start this one off with Ms. Rubi.
Look, for me, first off is sustaining my mission and vision right now with regards to creating that pathway for my students and creating that pathway so that they could definitely have an opportunity at Metro. In hearing Tiyesha's story again, where her guidance counselor provided her with that application, that opportunity, my students don't have that, because typically, if you're not in your top class or mid to top, those opportunities don't come to you in a typical high school. Here, this is where we really talk about equality, or equal and sustainable, right here. Because again, not that my students are not capable of learning, or they haven't learned, or they don't have the foundations. They have all of that. There's just other outside factors, and providing that support is the way, is that way of that. I'm going to continue that support and that that sustainability. And as long as I have this support with Maria and the other supports that I want to continue to build, I know my students will have a place to go, whether it's university and then come to Metro, or whether it's coming to Metro and actually open their eyes to different opportunities, making those connections. I think sustainability is key. Sustainability is key.
I like that. Sustainability is key. Paul, I'm going to bounce it back to you. What does sustainability mean to you in your life, in your work, in your community?
Sustainability to me means being able to support my superiors and also my subordinates, not just them. First and foremost, like I have to provide for support and provide for my family and meet our daily needs. It also means personal wellness and professional growth. With this, I believe that this sets examples for future generations.
Oh, that's great. Tiyesha, what about you? Tiyesha, I think you're okay.
Sorry about that. I was going to say, sustainability to me is being able to, sustain the program that I was in for TCAP, being able to ensure that, more students of color, more marginalized populations have access to these resources, so we sustain the program and create diversity and equity for all people. So I would definitely say that that's my take on what sustainability means.
Well, that's a great take on it. Maria, what about you? What does sustainability mean to you and all that you do at Metro, as well as in your personal life and in the community?
For me, social sustainability means doing the right thing in every aspect of my life, within the community and the work that I'm responsible for. Truth of the matter is that decisions we make every day impact the lives of others. And it's as simple as how we treat the clerk at the market or how we respond to adversity in our own lives. And so our individual decisions and actions impact the collective experience, and it all matters. So that's how I would describe sustainability for me.
No, I love that. This has been a great discussion thus far. Do you guys have any personal stories that you would like to share about how sustainability has personally impacted you, how it got you to where you are today? Any other stories like that that you would like to share for our audience today? And that's open to any of our panelists.
Just something brief that I also feel like public speaking. I used to kind of struggle with public speaking in high school. And by participating in the TCAP program, I actually got to do Toastmasters, which helped me gain confidence in being able to, sit here in front of you all and have these conversations and taking on more lead roles in different organizations that I was a part of. So I definitely do believe that there is a need to continue to create access to programs like these for inner city students, and so that they can, have access to different opportunities, whether it be career paths or even access to different educational opportunities.
Now that's great, Tiyesha. Anyone else have any examples? Ms. Ruby, do you have any examples that you would like to share with our audience?
Yes, I want to say that this is I've been a principal before in a middle school, and I was there for 6 years. And at some point I decided, I want to make a difference with that group of students that typically gets forgotten, or there's not a lot of emphasis placed on this, on this particular group of students. And so I just want to put it out there that we really have to be mindful of what we say, how we say it to any person, anybody. One particular very short story is, I know I have other students, but this one particular student that is coming to mind, he's homeless. He doesn't have a home. And so even though there are shelters and there's different places, he knows what he wants to do and where he wants to go and why he doesn't want to go to the shelters. And I respect that. But he's here every day to do his work. He's here every day. He doesn't take his laptop because he has no place to put it and he can't carry it. But he's here every day. He is resilient. He asks for questions. He knows exactly, he has learned where to go for food, at what time, where to take a shower, the schedule of where they are at particular times, and he's sure he's here on time every day. And so talk about resilience and talk about wanting to do the right thing. And so he knows that he wants to join the military as soon as he obtains his high school diploma, which it will be this June. And he wants to make some money because he needs to earn enough to rent an apartment for his mother, who is also living out of her car. So my point with this story is, our students, our people, we are all resilient and we can all make a difference. We don't have to be rich. We don't have to be, on TV. We could all make a difference. All of us can make a difference. So with this, in this presentation with regards to sustainability and really, I invite us now, I guess, to think about what is it that we could do, that we could sustain, that we could move forward, that we could teach others to do, so that just we could become, united and much stronger.
Wow, well, thank you, Ms. Ruby, and thank you to all of our wonderful panelists. I think that was a wonderful way to end this discussion, but our event is not over. I am now going to hand this back over to my colleagues, Christina and Andrina, who will then be facilitating our Q&A session. But thank you again to all of our wonderful panelists for today's discussion.
Thanks, Julia. Actually, Paul, I think I might have seen you unmute yourself. Did you want to add anything more? Just so we get your... Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, thank you for that. I actually do, being here with Metro, so I've been here for a little over a year. It's something that, when I came in, the pandemic just happened. And so everything went virtual. So there were things where, what could we do for, we always want to veer off on the outside of Metro, trying to bring veterans into Metro. But there's one thing that we did additionally is to, what can we do for Metro military veterans? And some of the things with my manager and I, we've held some, we call it a veteran virtual experience, where there's a lot of programs and benefits out there that that are for the military veterans, that people that we don't know of. And it was kind of a way of, like, I wish I had this in my previous employment, because the truth is I did everything on my own. I had to research, make a lot of calls, be on the phone for a while just to get the right answer and just to move on forward to get certain things complete. For instance, the VA administrative, VA benefits, disabilities, education, which was huge. And then just this fourth one class we just had was the VA burial. All those, a lot of veterans don't know. And so we've held these virtual experiences just for the Metro veterans, so they could take a look at it and be educated. So it was a reward in itself, and just to educate them in that way, it feels really good. So that's one of the things we've done in a veterans program. So that's all I really wanted to say.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, and thanks, Julia, for moderating our panel today. Thank you, everyone. This was fantastic. Appreciate your stories so much and your perspectives. So yeah, Andrina and I will facilitate Q&A right now. So Michael might share a slide here just to give you some emails today if you need to hop off early. If you want to contact us for any questions about the Metro Conversations program, which is what we're here today at, or anything relating to Metro sustainability, you can visit those websites. But hopefully you'll stick around for the questions. And again, just a reminder, you can raise your hand if you want to ask a verbal question, or you can type something in the Q&A feature. Please use the Q&A if you can versus the chat. It's just a little easier for us to track it and not lose your question in the chat feature. So I know we have two in the Q&A, Andrina. And then again, I'll look out for raised hands for anyone that wants to ask something verbally.
Yes, we have a question. I think that perhaps Paul could start off with, given that you really knew how to navigate the process as a veteran looking for employment in Metro. And so the question is, how can a veteran apply for an internship position focused on finance?
One is go on the Metro website and see if there's any jobs that relates to your field, because we look at the job listings every day and it keeps growing and growing. So that's the first thing is look at the listings and make a profile. So you're already in the system, and then so when something does come in, it's just easy. Just put your resume, and you see something, you see a position that you like that fits you, apply for it. But you could feel free to reach out to us, and we'll do our best to accommodate you and maybe tailor your resume and help you with interview skills.
Thanks. And I just dropped in the chat for everyone some links to our websites too. So if you click that link for the Next Generation Workforce Programs, you can navigate to the site regarding our veterans program. Thanks, Paul. Okay. I don't
Looks like we have another question in the chat on a similar vein, and maybe Maria, I'm sure you've been assisting folks navigating what it's like in the job market during pandemic. And so we have a question from Marie who says, is there a job opportunity for me, an energetic 55-year-old who is still on furlough and have been exploring options for some time now? I would appreciate your guidance to streamline the process in getting me to the right place.
Absolutely. And I'm not muted. Okay, great. Yeah, so as Paul mentioned, the job opportunities within Metro have been growing as of recent. And so that's a good place to start. As Paul mentioned, we do have, if you are, I'm not sure, Marie, if you are a veteran, but the veterans team really does a really great job of supporting with resume assistance and things of that nature. So that is a resource if you are a veteran. If not, there is support, and there on our website you can look for I don't know the email address, but if you have specific questions, there is support and resources to answer any questions. So that's a good place to start, our Metro's careers page. But there are an abundance of opportunities that are posted on a weekly basis now that we're defrosting from the pandemic.
Thanks, Maria. We got some love in the chat earlier as well. Someone said, love the equity and inclusion you all in Metro are making happen. Thank you. So thanks for that love from that anonymous person. And I just want to acknowledge, Jose, you dropped a question in the chat that was similar to the one just asked, noting that is there a safe way to participate with either one of these workforce programs? So hopefully you stayed on and you heard Maria's response just a moment ago. So thank you for that.
Christina, we have another question in the Q&A. An attendee has asked, and I think this would probably be a great question for Tiyesha. The person asks, as a TCAP graduate, what is a piece of advice you would give to the students looking to participate in this year's program? So maybe Tiyesha can give some advice about your experience going through it, and then Maria can maybe talk about participating in the years to come.
I would say some advice for students looking to participate in the TCAP program are to truly take advantage of all the full opportunity. Ask your questions that I always had wanted to get answered, because I remember coming in, I was a little shy, and when during the workshops some information would be presented and I wanted to do follow-up questions, but as I stated, I was a little shy. So I would say come in, and the environment's very opening and welcoming, so you're never going to feel intimidated. They're here to help you, and if you have any interest that you're interested in, like a certain department, if you're interested in sustainability, if you're interested in active transportation, or even in finance, they are willing to connect you with these people so that you can email them or set up an in-person, during my time when it was in-person, an in-person meeting. So I would definitely say, if you're interested in participating, don't be afraid to take advantage of everything that's presented to you.
Yeah, and to Andrina, I think that it's important to note, and I want to give my team a shout out for the great work. Paul alluded to that earlier in terms of how we remained focused on our mission in the light of the pandemic. And, Paul and Marion and Dennis, we all kind of came together and said, how are we going to keep this going, this momentum going, despite the external circumstances? And our TCAP program also went virtual last year. And our intention there was, how can we create that work from home experience for students so that we're giving them the opportunity and helping build their resume in that environment that they might experience in the real world, being that our TCAP is open to our 11th and 12th graders. And so a piece of advice, you may not have a face-to-face informational interview or opportunity to engage, but as Tiyesha mentioned, we are we're sure to create that safe environment for you to ask questions, to even if it's meeting virtually or making introductions, there are opportunities for you to ask questions and stay curious about your professional development.
Beautiful, thank you both. I see we have a raised hand from Jason. So just another reminder, if you're calling in and you want to ask a verbal question, press *9. And if you hear your number called, press *6 to unmute, or you can raise your hand if you are joining us on the Zoom app. So Jason, I'm going to unmute you shortly. So just a friendly reminder for folks, try to keep your question brief so that we have time to get to our other questions. And so there's time for the panelists to actually fully respond to you as well. And if anyone is speaking in Spanish, for those that don't understand Spanish, click the English channel on that interpretation button at the bottom. Okay, Jason, with that, I'm allowing you to speak. All right, go ahead and unmute yourself, Jason. There you go. Jason, you can speak now. There might be an issue with your audio. I'm not hearing anything. You are unmuted, but if you can, try to type your question in the Q&A and we'll get to it there. I'm going to mute you again and just be able to go on to our caller who also has a question. So caller 818 ending in 217, I'm going to allow you to speak. Again, please just keep your question brief if you can. Press *6 to unmute. There you go.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much. That's me right there in the on your chat box right there. That was not able to get through to you. I apologize for that.
Oh, great.
And I just thank you for unmuting me there and giving me the chance to comment here. I'd like to preface my comment / question here by saying that every single one of you have amazing ideas and a great positive progressive outlook on doing things. I'm really impressed with everything that everybody's saying here. My question is this, and this is not coming from a place of hate or toxic energy or anything like that, but this has to be discussed, and that's this. When we talk about a sustainable economy and a sustainable future and the human element, okay, MTA is just not doing enough to address the lack of security on our buses, our platforms, and trains. I get it. We have a homeless issue. We have a mental health crisis. We have an economic set of problems, and I get it. MTA cannot provide 5-star quality service. We get that. I'm telling you right now, I have spoken to I don't know how many people about the lack of security problem. I have been attacked personally several times, okay? I talk with people. Nobody is safe out here, and as much as this sounds like a personal attack on MTA, it is not. It is like you guys don't care about what is truly happening out here enough to actually create a plan to fight this problem. When you guys threw out the LA County sheriffs and went to LAPD,
I'm so sorry.
the security force has been cut in half, and that's all. I know you got to move on to the next person. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you, and I am truly sorry to hear you have been attacked before. That's awful. But thank you for that comment. I know there's a lot there, and I don't know if you were able to come to our very first Metro Conversations back in November, but we did talk about our homeless engagement program here at Metro and the amount of services we have out there on the system, both bus and rail, and all that we're doing coordinated with the county and with cities and the sheriff's department and all of our partners. It's a vast network. So yeah, thank you for that comment. I'll share some resources in the chat for everyone with our resources as it comes to if there's any emergency on our system at all at any time. We do have folks there ready to respond to that. All right, let's see if there is any other questions in the Q&A.
Yes, we have a question from Michelle Moore that reads, Dr. Liban mentioned that Metro can measure social sustainability. Can someone elaborate on that? And I believe Cris is still here. So Cris, if you want to jump on camera and address that, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle, for that question. Sincerely appreciate that. There was a research project. I did mention this earlier. There was a research project that was done by a company that's now been subsumed by WSP, and their metrics, a little bit over 100 or so metrics on social sustainability measurement that they outlined in there. It's not, applicable for every single transportation authority across the nation, but here in the agency we have been looking into that and seeing how we can work not only within our department, within the agency, but also specifically within our communities to report on those metrics as applicable. So we could talk offline a little bit more as appropriate, and sincerely welcome this kind of conversation on measuring social sustainability. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Cris. And just to elaborate, if anyone has questions regarding the general sustainability program, I believe Christina dropped in the chat a link to our websites, and we also have an email address, sustainability@metro.net, that you can email. Christina, that's all I'm seeing in the Q&A thus far.
All right, thanks for that. Any other questions from folks? Again, you can raise your hand, you can type into the Q&A there. Otherwise, visit our websites. I'm just dropping a couple resources in the chat here.
Christina, it looks like we have a question from Gloria that reads in the chat, what programs are in place that encourage social sustainability among existing businesses affected by the Metro LAX construction?
I'll just take a little bit of stab on that one. There's it's not necessarily this department's purview, but we as an agency have been working with communications department in terms of making some of those businesses whole, in terms of the loans, in terms of giving out grants, using a lot of those lessons learned in reducing similar impacts in future construction projects. I'm leaving out a lot of details, but if maybe Christina or Andrina, the person who's asking the question, if they can kind of drop a short note, we can give them additional resources on what we as an agency are doing on this, specifically on impacted businesses in construction projects.
Yeah, thanks for that, Chris. I will drop a link in the chat to our Business Interruption Fund website. That is a pretty long-term by now program that Metro has to support businesses that have been directly impacted by our major capital projects. Typically our major rail projects throughout LA County, and Crenshaw LAX line is one of those. So please check that link out in the chat to look more into details about that. If you have any questions, this is for everyone here today. If you have any questions about anything that we covered or not, again, reach out to us at, and I'll drop this in the chat again, metrospeaks@metro.net. That goes directly to us, and we will respond to your question or direct you to someone that can support you. Thank you for that. Great questions. Thank you, everyone. Any other ones before we close out our event today? Last chance on our webinar here. Otherwise, email us afterwards. I'm not seeing anything. So maybe I hear thank you in the chat. Thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you to our panelists. Thank you so much for sharing your stories, being here with us today, taking the time. Maybe Michael will share that slide one more time for us. Yeah, and thank you, our thank you slide. So thank you all so much. Have a safe day, safe week, and we will see you all hopefully at our next event and beyond. So thank you for joining us.